What's going on, friends? When it comes to Harley-Davidson baggers, the trend used to be stretch bags, air suspensions, big wheels, and big stereos. But lately, the focus has really been on performance. Honestly, if you think about it, it just makes sense when it comes to the Harley-Davidson bagger, because we think of the Harley-Davidson bagger as like the absolute last Harley-Davidson you're probably going to ever buy. So it just makes sense. If you're going to put a lot of money into performance, it may as well be on a bagger. And honestly, where that performance starts, it may start somewhere else than what you're actually thinking. It's no doubt that baggers are absolutely some of the most popular motorcycles out there. You can really stretch out on these things, get comfortable, you can haul virtually anything you want to with you anywhere you go, and as of late, you've really been able to take these bikes and make them more performance oriented with engine performance and handling, and you can get out there and do some things on them you probably shouldn't be doing, allegedly. Now, even Harley-Davidson here as of late has given us the ST model baggers. These bikes have the bigger engine, they sit up taller, they have a little bit more ground clearance, which in turn gives you more lean angle on both sides of the bike. But not all of us can spend $30,000 on a brand new motorcycle, and some of us, frankly, if we have the money, we don't want to spend it on a bike that only gives us two color options. Guys, please don't forget, if you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Now, when it comes to the two bagger ST options from Harley-Davidson, there's really not a whole lot different from those bikes versus the special and the standard models. Yes, you do get a 117 engine, you do get that taller suspension with more ground clearance, two color options, and as I mentioned, a $30,000 price tag. So what does this leave us to do? This leaves us to go out and buy a used bagger that we can take ourselves and build it up into what we want it to be performance-wise. And not to mention, with the money you save buying a used bagger, that leaves a lot of room for all those performance modifications that we have in mind. Now, the beauty of a performance bagger is that you can have all that power, you can have that excellent handling, that great stopping power, but you can ride it hard. At the same time, you can still take these bikes and go tour on them, go cross country on them, and you can still have a little bit of fun, but just maybe not too much fun.
Get it sideways. You got to remember, this guy's a dirt tracker as well, and he's got this thing all kinds of out of shape. How did he just save that?
Well, hopefully you're not pushing your touring motorcycle that hard, but one place I definitely like to start when it comes to a performance bagger is to start with the suspension. You guys thought I was going to say the engine, didn't you? While the suspension is not the most glorious part of performance on a motorcycle, it is definitely the one component that's going to get you the most out of your motorcycle. Is it stupid expensive? Absolutely. Getting the suspension upgraded definitely isn't cheap, but getting the suspension upgraded on your bagger, this is going to allow you to really take advantage of what you've already got in the bike power-wise, even if you're just on a stage 1 with the factory internals on the engine. And not to mention, the suspension really comes into play later on. When you do get in the engine, you do start putting more power in it. You're going to get that power to the ground much better than you would with the stock suspension on it. Now, there's no way around it. The best suspension upgrades are the remote reservoir shocks. Now, if you want to go with like O'Leans, you want to go with Legends, or maybe even the Screamin Eagle, these are going to give you the absolute best performance and the most adjustments possible for whatever your riding situation is on your bike. Now, if you take care of the suspension out back, you might even want to take it a step further and go ahead and put a spring kit in your front forks. Now, while you've got those front forks off doing the spring kit, you've got the fairing off, you've got all this tore down, this is a perfectly good opportune time to go ahead and upgrade your triple clamp. By upgrading your triple clamp, this is going to reduce the amount of rake your front end has. This is going to give you quicker steering, better handling. This is going to do a lot to change the dynamics of the motorcycle to match that suspension you just put on there. Now, with an upgraded suspension and an upgraded triple clamp, which has changed your rake on your bike for that sharper handling, this is going to allow you to carry more speed in and out of the corners safely because the bike's just going to infinitely handle better at this point. Now, even if you don't plan on riding the bike that hard, this is going to dramatically change the handling of the motorcycle, which is going to give you a much more pleasurable ride, even when you're loaded down, riding 2 up, and just kind of leisurely cruising down the back roads. And not to mention, this is what I was leading to with the suspension, having that better, quicker handling, this is going to allow you to get more usable power out of your stock motor. Just with the power you have, this bike's going to plant better, it's going to put the power to the ground better, and you're actually going to be able to use more of it because you're not on the brakes having to slow down. You can actually really ride the motorcycle just with the power you have with the Stage 1. Now, even less glorious than the suspension, it's usually the last thing on all our minds, is the brake upgrades. Yes, we can put bigger rotors on the bikes. We can put different calipers on them with 6 pistons in each caliper. Put them on the front, put a 4-piston on the rear, 2-piston on the rear. We can make these bikes actually stop on a dime. Now, I say do the suspension first is because after your suspension upgrades, if you're serious about building a performance bagger that really handles, you may not necessarily need to do the brake upgrade, because with the right suspension on the bike, it's going to change the way your factory brake system stops the motorcycle. And honestly, it's going to be a lot better. Now, of course, when it comes to handlebars, that's a very personal choice of whatever fits you and the direction that you're trying to take the performance setup on your bagger. Sure, you can put T-bars on it, you can put some mini apes on it, you can do anything you want with the bars. When it comes to the bars, that's really up to you and what you feel comfortable with riding. Now, when it comes to the engine, we're basically back to the same formula that we had with just about any other engine out there. We could do the cams, we could go through do the big bore kits, we could do all the head work. There's a lot of things we could do with the engines. It's all pretty much the same. But the difference with the bagger is when you really put a lot of power into these engines, the bagger's weight really comes into play. Now, I know a lot of people might say, well, why would you do all those performance upgrades? It's such a big, heavy motorcycle. Well, once again, that weight comes into play and it has a big benefit. When it comes to putting a lot of power in a bike, we don't have a lot of rear tire on these motorcycles. And we're not running some sticky race slick out there that's going to infinitely hook up. So by having that extra weight, putting that extra power in it, it actually helps you get that power to the ground. So if you go out and put one of those 135 cubic inch Harley crate motors into a Softail or something, you don't have that weight. You have that little rear tire on there. You really have nothing to put the power to the ground. You don't have any weight on that thing. So what good is all that horsepower if you're just smoking the rear tire off? With a bagger, yeah, it'll still smoke the rear tire, but you got a little more weight on there with that good suspension. It's going to help keep that bike planted and keep that rear tire from slipping, well, as much. You get something in there that's 130 horsepower, 130 torque, it's pretty much impossible to keep that rear end from spinning. The absolute goal with a performance bagger build is just to have an absolute all-around motorcycle. Get your suspension taken care of, your handling taken care of, then you're pretty much free to do whatever you want to do in the engine. This is going to be something that you can go out, go stoplight to stoplight on, get some thrills, rolling into that throttle, and you can also take this thing out and really ride it in the twisties if you want to. Not to mention go 2-up and still go touring on the thing. It's pretty much win-win on these motorcycles. So guys, I want to know what order that you would go in. Would you do the suspension? Would you get into the engine first? Would you even worry about the brake system? What would you do? What order would you go in building a performance bagger? But anyhow guys, that's all I've got for you this week. Please don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, get that video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. But until next week guys, you stay safe on the streets, ride smart, dodge those cars. I'll catch you guys back here next week with a brand new video. Thanks for watching.